The first act of reasoning involves an understanding of the word or concept. In positing this act in his categories, Aristotle relies on two things. The first he calls the predicables, which consist of the genus, species, specific difference, properties, and accidents. The second he calls the categories themselves, which consider substance, quantity, quality, relation, place, time, position, state or dress, action, and affection, or being acted upon. So the first act takes a word or concept and puts it in a classification scheme that situates it within the world. The second act of reasoning involves the proposition, a subject and a predicate, in which the truth or falsity of an idea can be determined. It's in this act of reasoning that we find the square of opposition that teaches us what is meant by a contrary or subcontrary or contradictory statement in relation to universal or particular statements and affirmative or negative statements. The third act of reasoning involves the syllogism, the epistemological act in which two known concepts bring about knowledge of a new concept. It's in this act that we find ourselves able to say that we know something new, or that we don't know something new, based on what is already known. So if I say that all technologies are extensions of the self, and that all communicative media are technologies, then I can reason that all communicative media are extensions of the self. What makes this process useful is that it solves for us the problem of learning, posed in Plato's Meno, in which Socrates tries to explain our epistemological awareness in terms of remembering ideal forms in an existence that predates our incarnate selves. And Aristotle didn't have to look far in his explication of how syllogistic reasoning works. He just looked to nature. He said nature acts in three ways. It acts necessarily, meaning that what it does is done in the way it must be done. A triangle, for instance, has 180 degrees because it has, by definition, three sides. Nature also acts in such a way as it will either generate a creature that meets its potential, or it doesn't. Nature will never create a 360-degree triangle, for instance, but it will create a human with either all its limbs or some missing or added. In this latter case, we end up with what Aristotle calls a monster, something that doesn't end up the way that it's supposed to. The reasoning process acts similarly. In the first instance, one can demonstrate how something acts necessarily. Drop an apple on earth, and, unless some impediment prevents it from doing so, it will fall to the ground. In the second instance, reasoning can produce truth, which is the purpose of its design. This truth is manifest in three important ways. The first is in the